Good morning, all of you. Right? Today I am going to tell you, actually reinforced concrete members are to be designed by the provisions of our IS code. Okay. The recommended IS code for IS code 456/2000. Vote on all of you. IS 456/2000. Okay. That code have all the provisions to design reinforced concrete structures. Okay. Actually, there are two methods of design. There are two approaches. Okay, two methods of design. Actually, one is the method of theoretical calculation. Reinforced concrete structures can be or elements can be designed by method of theoretical calculations. Another method is by method of experimental investigations. Okay. I told you method of theoretical calculation. There are theoretical calculations prescribed in the IS code, especially in the IS 456/2000. As per that provisions or procedure of the code, you have to carry out the calculation, necessary calculation and compute. Okay. The materials area still required, what should be the sectional area of the element. So they have to be designed, they have to be determined. Right? Here, the method of theoretical calculation itself, okay. Normally, what we will be doing for commonly used structure or usual structure. Okay. Normally, commonly used structures or usual structures are to be designed by method of theoretical calculation prescribed in our IS code. Okay. Sometimes you may have to design unusual structure. To design unusual structure, we go for the method of experimental investigations. At the same time, you keep it in mind, even the theoretical calculation itself as a result of extensive experiment carried out in national laboratories and field investigations. The theoretical calculation itself as a result of, may be kept in mind, the theoretical calculation itself as a result of extensive experimental work carried out in the extensive experimental test, okay, carried out in premier institution, national laboratories, as well as field investigations, okay, carried out by the field engineers. Based on that, the theoretical calculations are developed. Okay, the computations, the procedure is developed. That you keep it in mind. Suppose you are how to design unusual structure, we go for experimental investigations have to be carried out in a properly equipped laboratory. For example, I will tell you my experience. When I was recently during 2012 somewhere I visited ICRC, I took our student there. That time what happened? The parliamentary building, there is a proposal to construct new parliamentary building. The parliamentary building roof, some hexagonal shaped dome, it's a dome, but not powder roof dome. So hexagonal type dome. Maybe for the parliamentary library building or something, I am not sure about. That building model, that is roof model, no, it's not model, prototype structure, was tested in heavy testing laboratory of ICRC. It is an unusual structure. Okay, to design the structure was cast, the prototype structure was cast, and it was tested in a properly equipped lab like structural engineering center, heavy testing laboratory. The test was going on, we witnessed it. Okay, that I can quote as an example. Okay, it may be a modern scaled down structure by adopting the model theory, or a prototype can be studied, can be investigated, tested, a properly equipped laboratory, and the carried design can be done. How the failure mode, how the failure takes place, where the reinforcements are to be provided, how the detailing should be, detailing of reinforcement should be done, and all can be decided. Okay, but you are going to deal mostly with the commonly used structure, usual structures, for which there is a prescribed calculation procedure prescribed in our IS course that you have to follow, okay, especially in IS 456/2000. Okay, in the theoretical methods, again there are three approaches. You take the theoretical methods prescribed in our IS course. There are three approaches. One is called the modular ratio or working stress, more popularly called working stress. Working stress or modular ratio or elastic method. The first method is working stress, modular ratio or elastic method of design. Actually, when I studied my BE in civil engineering or ME, both the RCC and advanced RCC and all, I have learned by working stress method, the first method. That time that was textbooks were that we studied, we learned RCC by working stress method that time. Okay, so we were well versed with working stress method that time. And then we used to study some introduction, 1 unit about ultimate load theory, and then limit state design. Only limit state design, ultimate load theory were only 1 unit for us. That much only we learned during our graduation time. Okay. Now IS code recommends RCC structures are to be designed by limit state theory only. So now the limit state theory is very important. You have to design any RCC element by limit state theory. I will tell you the methods. Okay, the second method is called ultimate load or load factor method. It's nothing but modified form of ultimate load theory. Ultimate load or load factor method. The third method is called the limit state or strength and serviceability method of design. Limit state or strength and serviceability method. Okay. Second one is ultimate load method or load factor method. Load factor method is nothing but modified form of ultimate load theory. Okay. I will explain one by one. First, I will go to the first method, model ratio method. Right? We will see that. Those points are all nicely given that these were given. See, listen, I don't want to prepare PPT for the subject. I want to project because it's a very, very nicely written book. This book is being followed most of the NITs and IITs. Okay, design of reinforced concrete structures. This work is a familiar book. It is being followed in most of the IIT and NIT. It is especially the presentation is very nice. In a nice tabulated form, the calculations are shown, the computations are shown. Okay, the unique way the author has written the book is what it is. Okay, I already told you, I got a golden opportunity of talking to the PC workers. Frequently used to see during my state college of engineering. My state college of engineering, when I was doing my PhD there, PC workers was working as a professor emeritus. Every day I used to talk to him. He used to come to my structural dynamics lab there and used to see my testing and all, my BB testing and all going on. He used to interact with me. Such a nice talk I had. I was so fortunate to have a talk with him. Okay, that time I didn't know much. I have read about him, but I have not studied his book. In the recent past I have studied his book, and now I feel still praise him a lot. So here, see here, the question of this code. Okay, IS 45000 class. Reinforced concrete numbers should normally be designed by limit state method. So IS 456 2000 recommends reinforced concrete structures have to be designed by limit state method. Okay, so this is the thing. I will give you this course later. You can take note. First time we are going to see model ratio method. Actually, this method was evolved, came into use during 1900. Evolved during 1900 in India. Okay, our IS code adopted during 1900. It is the working strength method. Right? Actually, what is that this method? It assumes that both concrete and steel act together and they are perfectly elastic at all stages so that the modular ratio can be used to determine stresses in steel and concrete. What is the modular ratio? It is the moduli of ratio between modulus of elasticity of steel and modulus of elasticity of concrete. Modular ratio is nothing but modular ratio is equal to modulus of elasticity of steel divided by modulus of elasticity of concrete. Normally it will become around 80, 180. Okay. So it adapts, in the computation it takes into account the modular ratio. That is why it is called modular ratio method. Okay. So it assumes that, first assumption. In any computation theory and all, we do many things based on assumption, I told you. We are dealing with 3 A's, I told you, assumptions, approximations. Although our solutions are approximated, they are acceptable. Okay, at acceptable level, we do solutions to any problem. Okay, I already told you, when I taught you basics of solid mechanics. We just deal with 3 E. The first A stands for assumptions, second A is approximation. Okay, if you want to solve any problem, first we do some assumption and then we approximate the solution. Although our solutions are approximated solution, they go closer to the exact. Okay, so at acceptable level, we approximate the solution. Okay, that keep it in mind. So the assumption made in the working stress method is both steel and it assumes that both steel and concrete act together and they are perfectly elastic at all stages so that the modular ratio can be used to compute stresses in steel and concrete. That is the assumption made in this. And also it adopts the permissible stresses, okay, of the strength of the material. And also what is it there? This method adopts permissible stresses which are obtained by. permissible stresses which are obtained by applying specific factor of safety on material strength. Okay, that is your first assumption. It assumes, actually, that clearly shows in working stress method we design well within the elastic value of the elastic theory. We follow elastic theory here. Okay, the elastic behavior of the material was taken into account. Okay, within the elastic value, elastic behavior of the material is taken into account in this one. Although the RCC is a composite material, it has steel and concrete, they are different material. Okay, but we assume that they act together. Okay, and they are perfectly elastic at all stages. This assumption we made, and then it adopts the permissible value stresses. Okay, which are obtained by applying specific factor of safety on the material strength. Okay, so that is our thing. We do that. Actually, the factor of safety used for concrete is normally 3, and the factor of safety used for steel is 1.8. Okay, so in the working stress method we use the specific factor of safety. That is called specific factor of safety. Okay, it confuses, you know, I 100% agree. To explain this 3 method, it will take some time for me. It may confuse you. You may not be immediately understandable. It may not be easily understandable to you. Okay, you have to apply your mind and think. While doing calculation, you will become an engineer. I will be doing computation designs. Normally in this chapter, the usual question is, you will be asked to explain any of these methods. Any one of these methods, you will be asked to explain. That is the usual question. Explain working stress method, explain ultimate load theory, explain limit state design, limit state method. This is the usual question. Otherwise, you will be asked to compare any of the 2 methods. What is the difference between working stress and distinguished working stress method and limit state method? You have to note down. I am telling you some questions. You have supposed to note down. You don't want to note down? Please note down. Okay. In a usual question, explain. First explain. Write down all the 3 methods. Explain working stress method, ultimate load method, limit state method. New question. You have to explain briefly. You have to brief. Okay, what is that method? The feature of that method you have to brief. The salient points of that method you have to brief. Okay, that's what. Next, another usual question is in this chapter, distinguish between any of the any of the methods, any of the 2 methods. You will be asked to distinguish between working stress method and limit state method. That is the usual question in most of the question paper. Or distinguish between working stress method and ultimate load method. This is the usual question. Okay, so questions will likely to be asked like this. Very good. I will continue. I want to continue the explanation of working stress method. Okay. See here, I told you the assumption and it adopts permissible stresses, right? And then although structure designed by this method have performed well for many years, because I told you, just now I told you, I have learned RCC design by working stress method. Although structures designed by this method have been performing well for many years, it has certain defects, disadvantages. There are certain disadvantages, defects in this method. What are they? Only few listed, only 3 important defects listed. One is, first defect is, since this method is based on elastic theory, it neither shows the true strength of the material nor the true factor of safety of the material. Actually, since this method is based on elastic theory, it neither shows the true strength of the element or a section or nor the true factor of safety of the material. That is the first defect. Because, see, all of you listen, any material has not only elastic range, it has some behavior in the plastic range also. The strength of the material in the plastic range of response is not taken into account. Only the strength of the material is within the elastic range of response alone taken into account. Within the elastic limit, the strength offered by any material. Okay, you take the RCC element, you have concrete area of concrete is there, area of steel is there. The strength offered by that material within the elastic limit alone taken into account. In this method, working stress method, it's the strength of the material in the plastic range is not taken into account. That is why it is not showing the true strength of the material. Okay, now the true factor of safety also not taken into account because we simply adopt a specific factor of safety. 3 for steel and 3 for concrete and 1.8 for steel. Such as called specific factor of safety. Okay. What is the specific factor of safety? For example, while teaching basics of solid mechanics, I told you working stress is equal to for concrete. Okay. Characteristic compressive strength divided by factor of safety. I told you or not? For brittle material, we take its ultimate strength. Characteristic compressive strength. Okay. That divided by compressive strength of concrete divided by specific factor of safety, which is 3. Adopted is 3 here. Suppose you are using M30 grade concrete. 30 is 3, 30 Newton per meter square is the characteristic compressive strength of that concrete. That divided by 3, 10 Newton per meter square is the working stress, permissible stress. Working stress or permissible stress. Okay. That stress is adopted right here. You take steel. For steel, we don't take it because it's a brittle ductile material. Steel is a ductile material. For ductile material, to compute working stress, we are taking the yield stress. Okay, yield stress or yield strength. Stress and strength, both are one the same. Yield strength or yield stress divided by specific factor of safety. The specific factor of safety employed here is 1.8. Okay, that way we are computing the working stress, which is also called permissible stress. Working stress or permissible stress. That is adopted here. Okay, so it now gives the true factor of safety also of the strength of the materials also not properly given here. Okay, these are the main disadvantage, first disadvantage, defects of this working stress method. The second defect is, the second disadvantage is, since model ratio, okay, I will come to that later. The second disadvantage is, it results in high percentage of compressive strength, this working stress method. It results in high percentage of high percentage of compressive steel. High percentage of compressive steel. Whether you do structural member or compression member. You take compression member like a column. Where do you have compression steel? In column. Column we design compression steel. In structural member, the tension compression zone, if it is doubly reinforced RCC member, in compression zone, suppose when the beam bend sagging, top compression, yeah, top compression, yeah, hogging, bottom compression. Okay, so there we provide compression steel also to take into account compressive action. You may not know what is singly reinforced, what is doubly reinforced. That I have to teach you. I will be teaching shortly. Okay, see, why do you provide a steel in concrete? Why do you provide a steel in concrete? Why do you provide? Why do you reinforce it? Why it is called reinforced steel? Reinforced concrete. Why not only plain concrete? Why steel is embedded inside, incorporated inside? To provide tensile strength to concrete. Due to poor tensile strength of concrete. Concrete is very good in compression, but very poor, weak in tension. Okay. In order to provide tensile strength to concrete, we are embedding rebar, steel bar inside. Okay, steel is very good. It has its strength is very good. Both in compression tension, it possesses the same strength. Things happen to be isotropic material. Okay, but steel is not like that. It is very good in compression, but weak in tension. Okay, so that's why we incorporate. In tension zone only we have to provide steel. Why do we provide steel in compression zone sometimes? Sometimes the area of concrete available in the compression zone will not be sufficient to resist compressive action. In such a case, we provide steel in compression zone also. Okay, the area of steel provided there will involve in resisting compressive action. Okay, so we call it as doubly reinforced beam. We provide in the section, say for example in the beam section, account section, we provide steel in the tension zone in order to provide resistance to concrete. Okay, suppose the area of concrete available in the compression zone is insufficient, it may not be adequate to resist compressive action. We also provide compression steel in the compression zone. Both the concrete available, area of concrete available in the compression zone as well as area of steel available in the compression zone will resist the compressive action when it tends to bend. Okay, when the fracture member tends to bend. Right? So we call it as doubly reinforced beam. Right? Doubly reinforced sections. Right? I will come to that later. Right? I am going to teach you. Don't worry. Coming subsequent chapters and coming chapters I am going to teach you. Okay. So in the working stress method, the sign disadvantage is if you design structures by this method, that results in high percentage of compressive steel, thus leads to uneconomical design. That is another thing. Leads to uneconomical design. That is the side effect of this method. The third effect is the modular ratio itself an imaginary quantity. Because it is, we compute the stresses in concrete, we use the modular ratio, the design calculations. Modular ratio. Okay, ratio of modulus of elasticity of steel divided by modulus of elasticity of, what is going to be modular ratio? It is a ratio of modulus of elasticity of steel to modulus of elasticity of concrete. It will come around 80. Okay. That modular ratio itself, imaginary quantity, the author says. Why is that word imaginary quantity? Because the modular ratio is not a certain value. Because you take a steel, you test steel in a laboratory. Isn't it? Have you tested steel in laboratory? Have you tested steel bar in the laboratory? No, you have tested, you conducted tension tensile test on steel, no, while steel in the laboratory. But I am sorry to say that test is not very good. Actually, simply because we have some limitation in our laboratory, in our strength of materials laboratory. Strictly speaking, civil and mechanical student supposed to, when you conduct a tension test on standard steel, tension test on steel bar, you have to fit a extensometer. There are extensometer available. You have to mark the gauge length, say 20 centimeter or 200 mm. In that you have to fix a device called extensometer, and you have to apply the load. You have to put the bar between the grips, okay, and you have to apply the load gradually and at equal interval. Say for example, 50 kilonewton once. You have to note down from the dial gauge the elongation of the bar. Thus you have to compute stress and strain, and you have to plot stress strain curve. That is the Taka tension test on steel. It's a basic fundamental test that is missing in our college. Okay, because in our laboratory the extensometer is not there available. It may be repair or something. So simply you are putting the bar and conducting the test, and you are only noting down ultimate load, yield load. That yield load you are not observing. Support is upstairs. You are supposed to observe. You know the phenomenon of yielding. At one point, suddenly without taking appreciable load, without taking appreciable stress, the material flows. Okay, the phenomenon is called yielding. That time you can see the load dial. The load dial, and the needle will oscillate, jerking. Some jerking behavior of that needle, the load dial. Okay, the loading machine. You can load down the yield load, and then ultimate load. Once the ultimate load is reached, the needle return backs. Return backs. So the ultimate load can be loaded down. At breaking point, when the breaking load comes, sudden noise. The steel bar breaks with noise. That you loaded down. Only computed yield load, ultimate load, breaking load. That's all. You are not plotted stress curve for steel, but that is very, very important for beginner. Okay, for civil and mechanical engineers, you have to conduct tension test on micro steel. You have to put extensometer, and you have to plot the stress strain curve, and you have to see the curve you are getting as shown in the many standard books like Timashovo, Aims of Interpreters like Timashovo, or Popo, books like Popo, some standard industry standard, not our Pumi or something. Pumi also some curve is there. You should tally with that. Okay, you have to see how that the curve will look. At least you may see in the textbook. How the curve looks, you are not plotted, I know. How the curve looks in the textbook. I have seen stress strain curve for steel. It is a straight line. Yeah, initially it's linear, straight line, until limit of proportionality is reached. Limit of proportionality followed by elastic limit, then yield point. All are closer in that curve. Okay. In the curve is supposed to ordinate. It is straight line, linear, up to limit of proportionality. Immediately you have elastic limit. Immediately you have yield point. Then yielding, horizontal line. Then strain hardening again, further strain hardening. It goes up. That like that you have seen. You know. So steel has specific elastic modulus. You can determine slope of that curve, dy by dx. dy is stress, dx is strain. Because in abscissa you are taking strain. In ordinate you are taking stress. Okay. dy by dx, the slope of that line will give you stress by strain, Young's modulus value. Since the curve is straight line, it has specific Young's modulus value. Like 2 into 10 to the power of 5 Newton per meter square. That is the value. 2 into 10 to the power of 5 Newton per meter square. So, but what about concrete? Concrete shows non-linear behavior right from the beginning. If you plot stress strain curve for concrete, concrete lab also should have drawn stress strain curve for concrete. That is also missing in our college. You should have put a compressometer in a concrete cylinder. You should fit a compressometer and test it and note it down. Okay, the deformation at periodic intervals. And you have to plot stress strain curve for concrete and see how you are obtaining. That is very important, basic test for you. That is missing. That time you don't do. Simply you are putting a cube and compressing it and crushing, noting down what is failure zone. Okay, that's all. Characteristic compressive strength. You are reporting, that's all. You don't do any such a test. Okay, in the future it will be done. Let us go for that best. Okay. So, have you seen stress strain curve anywhere? You already studied concrete technology, no? Now you are studying. Concrete technology already studied, now you are studying. Already studied. Do you know why the concrete curve is non-linear right from the beginning? Why the concrete curve is, see, I am deviating. I want to teach you RCC. Now I am going to concrete technology. Do you know the reason? Going to any book, M.S. Shetty or any other textbook I have referred. Oh, okay. The stress strain curve for concrete is non-linear. Okay. How do you determine Young's modulus? We draw initial tangent. At the initial point, at origin, we draw a tangent to the curve. Slope of that curve we are taking, that tangent we are taking. That gives you Young's modulus value. Okay. Moreover, the Young's modulus value depends on grade of concrete. 5000 root FCK in the IS code. It is given as 5000 root FCK. Okay, for given grade of concrete, the Young's modulus value will not be the same because it's non-linear. Curve is non-linear. Where do you draw the tangent and determine the slope? Normally we draw the tangent at the initial point, okay, and go for its slope. So as that of steel, it doesn't have specific Young's modulus value. That is why relying upon model ratio is not advisable. Okay, so that is another defect involved in this method. So these are the main three disadvantages of working stress method. Okay, that is everybody may have discussed. The next I am going to ultimate load. All these things are time up. Okay, still 5 minutes there. I finish up. Okay, but it is a model ratio method. But a knowledge of working stress method is essential for concrete designer and forms part of the limit state design. If you have knowledge of working stress method, you will be good in limit state design also. Okay, that doesn't matter. Now you straight away you are going to study limit state design only. Next time I will tell you what is load factor method. Next time, that's all about. I told you what is working stress method, debates about working stress method. Next time I am going to load factor method. Ultimate load method or load factor method. Okay. Ultimate load method or load factor method means here what we do. The disadvantage, main disadvantage of working stress method I told you, it neither gives the true strength of the section nor true factor of safety of the material. Okay, that is why what we do, we are determining the strength of the section at working load from the ultimate strength of the section. We are computing the strength of the section at working load from its ultimate strength at failure. If you don't understand, I will tell you this way, most probably you will understand. Simple example. Okay, remedial level example I will tell you. You want to suspend 500 kilonewton load. Just say you want to suspend 500 kilonewton load in a rope, in a steel rope, right? You want to design the steel section for it. You want to design the steel section for it. In working stress method, how do? You will compute the load is 500 kilonewton. That is the characteristic load, design load. For 500 km, distance 500 km, you have to design it. In working stress method, what we will do? The rope is there, no? Rope is made of steel. What is the yield strength of steel? Say it is a mild steel, 250. You will apply factor of safety for 250. 250 divided by 1.8, specific factor of safety. 250 divided by 1.8, how much it comes? Around 120? Or more than that? Don't know the bargain? 250 divided by 1.8. How much? Make it fast. 250 divided by 1.8. 240, 230, 220. Sorry, 140, 130, 120. 250 divided by 1.8. How much? 130. 130, say. 130, 80 over the, say 140. 140 Newton per mm square is the working stress, permissible stress. So what you will do? That stress into area is equal to 500 kilonewton into 10 to the power of 3, 5,500 to the power of 3 Newton. Then you will compute what is the aid supposed to be. Working stress method I am talking. Working stress method, if you want to do the design, how do you do? The permissible stress in steel, which is 130. 130 into area, what the area is supposed to be. Area of cross section is equal to, because stress into area will give you the load. What is the